Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tula Community Podcast. It's been 2 months. I'm just noticing now as I'm logging into my podcast uploading website that I use. I see that it's been 2 months since I shared an episode, which I was on a really good consistent streak there for a while. And if you know me, you know that I'm not overly good at being consistent. And it's funny because I sometimes I wonder, there's all these different measures of success, like in quotation marks, success, right? And to me, sometimes I feel like an area of that's lacking, I guess, that's lacking for me is consistency. And sometimes I feel as though I will not have all areas of success, quote unquote, because I'm not very good at being someone who uploads regularly. Or I see a lot of people, they do, it's like predictable to their audience. So they upload to YouTube every Tuesday or whatever. And oh, if I could only be one of those people. I'm fine to not be, but sometimes I just, you know, I think it would be cool if I could be a consistent person, but I'm just a little bit too scattered to be a consistent person. But one of the things that I was doing really, really good good with was the podcast. So I was uploading on every 22nd of the month, and then I was doing pretty good uploading like my solo episodes on, I think it was the 6th that it was, or it was sometime during kind of the middle of the beginning of the month, and then like a guest podcast on the 22nd. But we took a little break, and I'll probably talk about it in another episode, but I had surgery, and so it kind of threw me off. I'm all good. It's no big deal. It's just that I took the time to chill out and not work on things as much. So we're back. And this is an episode that I shared with Danielle Campani. And so I tell the story in the episode of how I got connected with her. So I'm going to save you having to listen to that here again, basically. But I'm happy to be connected with her. And if you haven't already, and if you know her, you'll know her work more than likely. And if you don't, I've linked below her Instagram and her website. And if you want to check out her photography, I would highly recommend that you do, and her videography. It's all so beautiful and truly actually very inspiring for me. There's a few people that I follow that I just notice different things, or just see the way that they utilize like light, or the way that they've edited something, or how they've used an angle. I learned a lot from her when we went out once and took photos together. And she had approached our session when she took the like most photos of me. She was like taking the photo above me basically, and so she would stand up higher than I was and kind of shoot down. And if you've gone on photo session with me, you know that I'm always on the ground shooting up. And so I learned something from her. I it sounds so silly, but I didn't even think about using an upward angle. The only time I've ever really thought about that is that I wish I could capture the trees from above. That's all that I really thought about, but not for people. And so already, and in many different ways and in many little ways, I've been informed and inspired and made better by my connection and my friendship with her. So I'll share a little bit about who she is here, and then we'll get into the episode. Danielle Campani is a tourism, travel, and lifestyle photographer and videographer, originally from Reggio Emilia, Italy, and now based in Vancouver, BC. Her broad portfolio spans outdoor, adventure, lifestyle, travel, documentary, portraiture, and food photography. Danielle strives to create work that evokes a feeling of spaciousness and presence, and has shot for both international and local brands across the travel, tourism, food, wellness, and community sectors. Like I said before, I've linked her website, I've linked her Instagram, and I've linked her LinkedIn. And so if you wanna peruse and go on a little adventure with who she is and her work, I would highly recommend that you do. And we talk about it in the episode, but it's something that I feel is important because you know, if you know me as well, you know that I really appreciate going to Langley, and I go to Fort Langley pretty frequently, and people always kind of wonder why, especially my city friends. They're always like, why are you like, you do everything there? And I'm like, yeah, I do everything there. You know, I can't help it because Langley has a very important place in my soul and my heart, and I just love being there. And I frequent Fort Langley, and so the way I got connected with Danielle is through going to Saba Cafe, which her family owns, and there's also a restaurant in Fort Langley. And so something about cafe culture and food culture, and it's a big component of who she is, and a massive component to who I am. So I wouldn't have, you know, connected the dots to her without wanting to, you know, support local businesses and go there. So I would always recommend that you go to Saba, and I don't think I go on a Fort Langley trip without going there. I go there all the time. So if anybody that works there is listening to this, you'll know who I am probably. I'm a frequent person there, but I appreciate the like depth of food knowledge and cafe culture in Danielle and in her family and in her lineage. So this is a big component, and connecting with her has been great for me in that way as well. So here's our episode, and you get to learn all about her, and it was great to be able to ask her these questions and learn more and get into the kind of the depth of how she got where she is now, and all of that good stuff. So here you go. I hope you enjoy. Okay, my girl. All right. Welcome to the podcast.
Okay. Thanks
Amazing.
for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm sitting here with Danielle, and I want to tell the story later on, a little bit of like how I got connected to you, because I think it's just a good story. But I'd like you to introduce yourself first, please, and tell us who you are.
Okay. So my name is Danielle Campani, and I am a photographer and videographer, and many other things. But those are my main passions and the main part of the work that I do. So.
And I'll tell the story about how you and I got connected, and I think it's been told probably online. I would imagine that the way that you and I met,
maybe,
basically.
I don't know, but you go.
But, you know, I think it's a good story, and it like is still something that it sticks with me, because I ended up buying this print of yours, basically, you know. But I went to Saba, and I saw the artwork on the wall, and one of them I just really liked. And normally I don't really like orange or red tones that much, like at all, in like, I don't know, in like anything, in art or clothing or whatever. But for some reason I was like, I really need that in my house, I think. And so I saw who the artist was, and obviously it was you, and I was like, well, I don't know who this is. I've never met her. I wonder if she's from Langley. Like, I'm from Langley, so I would imagine that we probably had mutuals or something like that. Anyways, I think I found your Instagram and started following you pretty promptly. And then and then we started talking, and like obviously realized that we have a strong Langley connection. Absolutely, you know. Yeah. Did you grow up in Langley?
Well, I grew up in Italy.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Reggio in Italy, right, until I was 10, and then we moved to White Rock, and then I ended up in Langley for school, for the fine art school. Right, amazing. So, yeah.
Oh, so you ended up going there.
Yeah, so I went there for a few years.
Right. Okay, that's amazing. I don't think I knew that part. And so what brought your family here?
My dad's work brought my family here, mainly, I would say. And then mountains, but I mean we have beautiful mountains in Italy too. So mostly my dad's work. He speaks very good English, and then my mom is originally Israeli and American. So yeah, that's how we ended up in Canada. Right. And I was curious before we move on. Remind me which photo it was.
It's the one of that like a woman in like an orangey red sari, and she's just staring at the camera pretty intensely. It's the one at Saba that's like
white. Is it
a white background?
Oh, okay, I know exactly.
Yeah. She's like not smiling or anything like that. Those are really great too. Totally. I have the like album of yours that bookmarked. So like anytime I want to buy another one of those photos from that series, I'm like, I'll go. Yeah, because I was like, I need to keep the link. But it was that one. Okay. And then and then I obviously I found your Instagram, and then I don't think it was like too long after that we like, I don't know, started talking more and then met in person. And
no, totally. I think we ran into each other at the restaurant too.
Yes.
Or at the cafe or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that I should introduce part of that part of my life.
Yeah.
So my family owns a cafe and a bistro in Fort Langley called Sabah. And although photography and video are kind of my main things, that is a huge part of my life. So I've been a part of the branding from the beginning, and the photos and the video and the marketing and just the overall like making it come to life. So yeah, I feel like that's worth mentioning because it's a huge. I always kind of forget to put it in my LinkedIn or whatever, but it is a big part of my life and my days and my passions.
Right, and I had no idea that even when I saw your artwork there that you, I don't know that was like part of your world or life. I didn't even know. I just thought that maybe you were like some local artist that they allowed to have photos there, and I just, anyways, I thought it was quite special.
Yeah,
and I've since purchased the digital download of that photo. But I still got to figure out what to do with it because I wanted to print it quite big for my wall, and I haven't done that yet. But I have it saved.
Let me know because actually Alessio, I don't know, you can cut this out if you want. Alessio is he does carpentry. He built all the desk and the table and the shelves and whatever, and he just built us a frame. So we just printed a photo. I can show you after.
Amazing.
But yeah, so if you ever want a handmade frame, he can make it. And
that's actually really helpful to know because I was looking. I wasn't really looking brand new because I just thought that it would probably cost a lot to get a brand because I wanted quite a big size frame, obviously, you know. So I was looking at the thrift store and I was just like walking around with a tape measure, like trying to figure out something. Anyways, it's not on my wall yet.
Okay, well.
But that's how we got connected, you and I, you know. And then we went and like I feel like I met you at the restaurant. Then we went and took some photos together, which are so special. And that's it. Like I feel like that's our connection so far.
Absolutely, just the start.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, in the midst, we've had a lot of traveling and different things going on. So
100%.
That's probably why we haven't caught each other.
Well, I told you, you're very hard to pin down.
I feel like I'm always, I feel like I'm here so much of the year, but then everyone I meet, I just met someone on the way here, was like, wow, I didn't know you were in Vancouver. She thought I was traveling. So everyone thinks I'm traveling all the time.
All the time.
But, I mean, I do travel quite a lot, but not all the time.
No, no. So I'm curious to know about your photos because what happens with the podcast is that usually I have a conversation with someone prior to recording, which is like a mini podcast, you know, like so much stuff was brought up, obviously. But I'm curious to know, like from the beginning for you, like even when you were at Fine Arts, what were you creating there? Like what was your interest? Were you also photographing then when you were in school, or did you kind of like fall into it a different type of way? Like how did that all play out?
Okay, so my story with photography is kind of interesting. I used to dance like semi-professionally until I was 18, 19, and I was dancing so many hours of the week outside of school, like 16 plus hours.
Wow.
And then I was also dancing at school, and the level of dancing in the fine arts school was maybe not as high as I wanted, and so I was like, you know what, I'm dancing so much already, maybe I can try something new, like shift into something else while I'm in this fine arts school. And I took a photography elective and I loved it, and so then I went into the photography major, which was amazing. I really cherished those. It was only 2 years that I did the photo major there, and I learned so much. I did a huge project for the school, kind of like a legacy project.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is still there.
Yes.
And I just fell in love with it right away. So pretty quickly after, I shot my first wedding when I was 16.
Wow.
I bought my first camera, big girl camera.
Yeah, what kind of camera did you get to start with?
I got a 5D Mark III.
Okay, so Canon. Are you still with Canon? I feel like you are.
No, I have the R6.
Right, amazing.
But it was a huge purchase at 16 years old with my own money.
Yeah.
So
do you remember what it cost at the time?
I think it was, but
Probably like $1,500.
No, it was more.
More. Oh,
okay.
Okay.
So it was big.
Okay, it is a big purchase. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was worth it, and I had that camera until maybe a year or a year and a half ago.
Wow.
So it lasted a long time, and I grew into it, and then I grew out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of a fun journey. And then I will mention also my dad used to take a lot of photos. He had tons of photos. My mom and dad met traveling, and then they traveled together for a year. And they have tons of photos from that trip.
That's so special.
Beautiful and like really artful. And my great aunt was also a very kind of renowned photographer.
Really?
In Italy, and I have some of her photo books. So yeah, photography maybe, although I was introduced to it properly a little bit later.
Like at school kind of thing
school,
in a way? Right.
It was always a big part of my life.
Right. And so then from there, did you seek out further education that was photography specific outside of, like being at fine arts or something like that?
Totally. So I actually decided while I was in school that that's what I wanted to pursue, that's what I wanted to do. And I was looking at a bunch of different programs. I looked at Ryerson, Langara, Concordia. I ended up going to Concordia for a year in Montreal, which was amazing. And it was just analog film photography, which again was really interesting, and I enjoyed it a lot. But I kind of did my research while I was there, and I was looking around at the alumni and just seeing like, okay, are they actually working professionals?
Yeah.
And it was leaning towards no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they weren't really teaching us very commercial skills, right?
Okay.
It was very much about the art and the process of getting the series together, but not really so much about the quality of the work.
Yeah.
Once the series is done.
Right.
So as much as I absolutely loved Montreal, I spent a few months at the end making pros and cons lists, like stay in Montreal.
I just feel like when you have to do that, it's not the greatest.
Exactly.
You know, it's like as soon as you
God.
have to make a pros and cons, it's like probably all cons.
Exactly. I used to be a big pros and cons list kind of girl.
Yeah. And then I realized that as soon as you have to think about it, that's it.
Totally.
It's done. You know.
So then honestly, I decided, you know what, I need a bit more of commercial training. I need to understand lighting.
Yeah. Before
I spend all this time developing this great project that has, like really in-depth, long-term projects, but without the skills, it doesn't really match the outcome. So then after that, I went to Langara. I came back to Vancouver. I went to Langara to do their professional commercial photography program.
And was that like a 2-year or like a 4-year? Oh, that's kind of nice.
2-year, yeah.
It's good for us ADHD people.
Exactly. I wouldn't have done it if it was 4 years.
Yeah, the idea of committing to like a lengthy time. I can't do that.
Totally. And that was the thing is Concordia was 4 years.
Oof.
Right?
Yeah.
So at Concordia, part of my pros and cons was potentially switching into marketing.
Yeah.
Because I really do love marketing.
Yeah.
And then I delved deeper and I realized there was 20 credits of marketing and like 80 credits of like accounting and all the rest of it. So okay, no.
Yeah, that's actually so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I came back to Langara. I absolutely loved it. I still feel like a lot of my photography network is through that. And I learned a ton. I kind of feel some days now, it's been a while, I feel like I should go back and relearn those things I learned.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my main schooling. And then recently I just went back and did a documentary film program. Film program.
Right.
At Capilano, and that taught me a whole other slew of things.
And when you started taking photos, did you think that you would do film, or like not really? Like, what did you think? Like, I don't know. Did you eventually envision that there would be video involved, or not really? Or?
Yeah, finally, I have little moments of very clear intuition. along my path, and many years ago I said one day I'll be doing video. I just told my friend very casually, and I knew it would happen, but with no rush. And I still think that maybe that's where I'm gonna end up doing more. Funnily though, I also have another little intuition right now that I'm gonna teach kids how to garden as like part of my career. So we'll see. To be determined. I think it will happen though.
It'll definitely happen.
Yeah,
you
right?
know? Yeah,
So,
I feel like you're one of those types of individuals that you know, you do, like, you get it done, or whatever you're interested in, you will, I don't know, like, go forward and basically achieve that, you know? You're not someone that, like, doesn't do. Yeah, you will, you know. I can't wait to come see that.
Yeah, you can send your kids to me.
Yeah, I will. I'll send them your way, you know? Why do you... I know why, actually. I feel like I could understand why somebody would want to teach kids how to garden, because it's freaking adorable. But, like, why do you want to do that? Like, what is it about that comes to you?
First, it's adorable, as you said.
It's so cute,
you know,
it's so cute.
Nice
Their little hands.
Dopamine hits.
Yeah.
Well, because I think a lot of people don't know where their food comes from. And so if we can start children up understanding where their food comes from, how to grow it, I think that's the way forward. Yeah. Right? So I think a lot of people couldn't tell you what a green bean plant looks like, right?
Yeah.
You know, or where a hazelnut comes from, and that's something I'm super, super passionate about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I delved more into documentaries, that's probably where I would be going.
Food related and
growing related.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a huge passion.
Yeah, that's so special. So then when do you envision that you would do this gardening with kids? Is this like a retirement thing, or you're like, no, I kind of want to do it now?
Yeah, I think it's sooner than retirement, but maybe not right now.
Yeah.
Well, you know, on every vision board I've ever made, I have always said I want to eventually, one day when it's time, open a retreat center.
Yeah.
And have my own, you know, little mini farm, and bring people in so that there's also a sense of community and a space, and be a little bit away from the city. So that's probably where it would happen.
Okay. Okay. I'll stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I think it's gonna happen.
Of course.
Just don't know when.
Yeah, but I think also, like I said, you know, you're someone that's gonna get it done. But I also think you have a very good attitude and like openness to life, you know, and that type of thinking or individual is one that will do that, because you have this very like, yes, it can be done, or we can do whatever kind of approach to life, which I think is really necessary if you want to do bigger things like that.
Absolutely.
You know, you have to be like, yes, I'm going to do that, and you know, it'll get done, you know, so I think
totally
it'll happen.
Totally.
You're
and I think
it.
A big shift in perspective that I've had in the last few years, major, is I used to see my love of so many different hobbies as just like a horrible, you know, side effect of ADHD.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing like, oh yeah, you know, I did 3 yoga teacher trainings and volunteered at a farm for a month and all these different, or for years actually. And then photography, and I do marketing and all this random stuff that doesn't seem connected. And then you take something like a retreat center and you need all those skills.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm choosing to see it more like that. Like, you know what? Maybe it takes longer, but all these little...
But I find like everything in your life leads you. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like everything it's like you needed all of those things. And like sometimes I feel a little bit frustrated that I'm so scattered too, but then I'm like, I don't know, they all kind of come together later on. And like a big thing for me has been being open to things in life. Like I appreciate that I've had lots of experience, because I think that I would prefer to have many different areas of knowledge or just, you know, I have lived that life before, and then like take that forward with me, instead of just having like one career, one thing, live in one place.
Absolutely.
It's not that much to take with you.
Absolutely. And I was just talking about this to someone recently.
Yeah.
That as creatives, you almost need to, and this is something I'm hoping to do moving forward, is maybe taking part of the winter to get inspired.
Yeah.
And to see the world, because otherwise, like, you're creating from an empty vessel.
Yeah.
Right? You have to fill it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you have to go and be a worldly person and see in order for that to inform your art.
Yeah, right? I've seen that too, and I find like, you know, that worldly experience, not all like, I feel like it's really special obviously to the individual. Like if you've experienced it, then it's really special to you in your heart that you've gone and done those things. But it gives you so much, you're right, like so much different inspiration, so many different takes on life, and like, I don't know, even just little things, like I talk about this quite a lot, especially if I've said it to you a few times, but I just appreciate the use of color in just different ways around the world. Just ways that we don't even do, or like never have done in, I don't know, in Vancouver, in Canada or something like that. You just see a whole different way of expressing.
Mm-hmm. Totally. That's a big thing that I miss from my Italian background, and that I find, you know, I really feel it when I go to Mexico or when I go back to Italy, is just the color that's inherent in the city, you know? And in Vancouver in the winter, it's really hard to see color.
There's not much color here.
There's not much color, and so, you know, now I'm so grateful that it's spring, and yeah, I walk around my neighborhood and there's yellow.
Yeah, it's cute here. Yeah, it's cute. Yeah, it's cute. Yeah, when you get the flowers and stuff like that. But even like, I don't know what it is. I wonder if it's just because lots of buildings are painted with color or something like that when you go around the world. But even here, like, there are murals. Like, people have put artwork up in the city and stuff like that, but it's still...
It's new. That's why.
Yeah.
Because it's not just painted with color. It's also existed for hundreds of years.
Right.
So I think that's what it is.
When there's, like, an energy or, like, a depth.
And it's, like, the whole... It's why people love Fort Langley, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of got a theme.
Yeah, that's true.
It's colorful. You're only allowed to paint things within a certain color theme, and here it's just kind of free for all.
right. For better or for worse.
For better or for worse. And everything's just new. So you're just seeing the newness too.
Yeah, maybe it's lacking like a depth in the city of Vancouver or something. You know, there's no there's no cultural depth, and there's not much like actual history. Like there's history, but in a completely different way, maybe. Yeah.
Vancouver's definitely lacking in spaces also to congregate that feel. You know, like an Italian piazza is like, that's where it happens, right?
Right.
So I make it my life's mission to make sure that I go to the farmer's market every week. Because that is one of the only places that I feel like I see kind of some vibrancy. But even that experience feels very different than what it might in Italy.
Right. And you ever wonder, like, if that experience is just different because you're traveling and you're just elsewhere? Or do you think that it's genuinely different? It's like sometimes, of course, when you're traveling, like, it feels a little bit more special because you're traveling.
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot.
You have? Oh, okay.
I did spend a few years traveling quite full-time-ish with my best friend, and we've chatted about this. We actually just chatted about it this morning. And I think it's a mix. Obviously, when you're on vacation, you have a different perspective. Everything's new. You know, even when you go, let's say you go to Pemberton for a weekend, and it's amazing. It's so peaceful. It's like, but would you want to live there? That's a whole different story, right? But I think ultimately, I do actually believe that the culture is just colder here. I think the weather makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
You know, it rains for so many months of the year.
Like every day, basically.
And that weighs on people.
Yeah,
so
it does.
It's the weather, and then it's also, I mean, this is again just my own opinion, but it's just the pace of life, you know? It's expensive, and so people work more and have less time. And then the standard of living is higher here than in Italy, I would say.
In what, like, what does that mean to you? Like,
to me, it means that everyone's goal here is to have a house. You know, I know people with a house in Italy, but a lot of people just have an apartment, right? And they're fine with it because it gives them freedom to not be slaves to work, right? So a lot of that there is, it's more about life and less about work. And here we kind of chase these goals that we're told we have to chase, right?
That's
like
true.
Having a big house, having a great car, having expensive clothes, going to expensive restaurants. There, you know, I think it's more common to go with a bit less, and because everyone seems to go with a little bit less, then maybe the pressure's off a bit.
Yeah, I find that these are like what you're describing in something like Italy or something. It also just feels like a much more human experience to me. Like it's so much further rooted in just like being a human. It's not chasing all of these things and like living so digitally. I find, like, I'm sure that exists, don't get me wrong, but it also feels very present. You know, just like you're willing to talk to someone that you're sitting beside at a restaurant or cafe or something like that, or just walking down the street. Like, I feel like it's a deeper humanness to it than here.
Yeah.
It feels very disconnected here.
It feels totally disconnected, and I think the humanness is because there's such a focus on family and community.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So, and again, you can never see the good without seeing, you have to see both sides,
yeah,
because in the way that we're so digitally connected here, you may very well show up at a restaurant that says it's open and it closed 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's so behind in that sense. It's just like so old school. The train systems are always not working. Like, there's things that make living there very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard to like get things off the ground. The licensing, it's very bureaucratic. So yeah. Good and bad.
There has to be
like,
both. Yeah.
There's a cost to the slowness of life, but I think we pay a higher cost here. I really do. I think the speed of life is crazy.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people here have peace. I don't think many people carry with them peace living here, you know? Not in the same way.
No, and actually it's funny, I'm doing this photography boot camp right now, and in it we had to kind of sort out our why we photograph and what we want our images to say, and I did so much brainstorming to really nail it down, because of course I have a few things, but I landed on peace, because I really want my pictures to emanate a sense of calm.
They do have that.
And I think that's what I'm searching for too, is like,
right,
with my photography I get to slow down a moment, because we move so fast.
Yeah.
So yes, I think people lack peace.
For sure, 100%. You know, I feel like we see it so much here, and yeah, it's been interesting to like live and witness as someone who, and like for yourself too, like we're both like practicing spiritual people, so it's just yeah, it's a curious existence for us sometimes here. I'm like, whoa. You know, like it makes you want to run away. Far away.
And you're lucky you're a little bit detached, because North Van feels, or where you are, a little bit.
Yeah, pretty detached. I used to be more detached, but now it's a very good spot, but I agree with you. Like, I'm happy that I'm not in the city. Yeah. You know, because it's a lot sometimes, of course. It's beautiful. Like, it's got a lot of perks, but you know. I want to talk a lot about your photography and your work, because like we said before in the cafe, I was saying to you that I feel that I love your work. Like, I like viewing your photos, and I think that they're so amazing and so beautiful. And so when you finished at Langara, like, did you ever feel pretty concrete in what you wanted to take photos of, or have you felt really open to the like artistic expression or whatever? Did you have a goal when you were finished? Because sometimes, you know how it is, like, you finish school and you're like, I really want to just take pictures of this. Or did you feel pretty open?
Well, this has been a bit of a struggle for me, just being so ADHD.
Yeah.
That I really love photographing so many different things.
Yeah.
And like food and people, and I was doing lots of weddings before, and dance photos and branding. So for a lot of years I just kind of focused on branding and yoga, especially while I was traveling. And then because of Sabah, I kind of really stayed connected with food photography too. and also because I love food, of course. And now finally, because of this boot camp as well, I have figured out that my favorite work that I've done so far and work that I want to pursue more of is tourism. Tourism work, because it really encompasses all.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can have a mix of adventure shots, and you can have food, and you can photograph farmers. So I did a lot of work a few years back for tourism lately, and I loved it, you know, because I got to go meet the farmers and then photograph restaurants and the outdoor landscapes. And so I guess that kind of work really complements that I like to do a variety of things. So yes and no.
So do you, I was going to say, I guess that you'll probably never feel that you're kind of one thing, which I don't think you should be, but I think that it seems that you encompass a lot of things.
Yes.
Yeah. And like for me, viewing your work that you've captured while traveling, just of people that like live there, whatever, those to me speak so loudly and like are the most special in my mind of your photos, because it's just so beautiful and you just don't get to see it all the time. And I think that you do like a great justice to them, you know. And I was with a friend at the cafe the other day, and when we were sitting there, there's like there right now at the moment there's like 3 in the background. There's like I think 2 have like ladies smiling and one's like laughing. And I was telling her that I really want to, I just want to travel. I just feel like I'm missing out so much. I'm not traveling enough, that I'm not getting photos that are like this, because these are so beautiful and like just so special. And I said to her, I was like, you know, but for me, like behind this photo, like this lady is laughing and smiling, but I know that like probably what would have happened, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, Danielle would have had to like make them laugh, or like you know.
So yeah, one kind of funny, you can carry this with you if you want.
Yeah.
Wherever I go, I learn a little tiny bit of the language if I can. Some places are harder than others.
That's true. Yeah.
But the ones that you're talking about were taken in Nepal, and I really made an effort to learn a little bit of Nepali.
That's cool.
And one thing that I always try and learn is how to say either like "you're so beautiful" or "beautiful."
That's cool.
And that always gets a nice smile, because it's true. Yeah. And it's just one way to
get that reaction.
Yeah, get a reaction, but also just you know, it's a respect thing. You're taking their photo, and it's like, I acknowledge you. You're so beautiful. Thank you. I see you. You know? Yeah. So thank you, and you're beautiful.
Go a long way.
You can go pretty far. Okay. Just so you know.
Okay, good to know. Well, it's good that I know like this, you know, the background to this story, because I'm explaining this to my friend, saying like, to me, like from someone who also takes photos, I feel like I have a sense of what, and I know you, so I know your personality, so I know that you're going to make them laugh because you're very funny. So I was like, okay, well, and she was like, wow, that's like so beautiful, Whitney, that you see that and witness that, whatever, you know. And I was like, yeah, but I think that's just what it like would have needed to get that photo out of it, basically, you know. And I it's actually quite special that I'm sitting down with you not that long after having that conversation, and you're telling me the story of how that happened, you know. So when you finished university, did you go traveling pretty quickly after?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. And did you do that trip?
I think I actually went traveling between. I traveled also between and then after.
Right.
So oh no, right after it was COVID, so I didn't travel.
But during you went somewhere?
But I went during, and then I went right after COVID.
Right, yeah, like eager to go kind of thing. Yeah.
So I would definitely say it's funny that you say that's your favorite work, because I think the travel street photography is my favorite.
Yeah.
And that's also an area I would like to grow in.
Yeah.
You know, some of it was paid, some of it was not, some of it was volunteer work. So yeah, I guess since we're on the subject, I wouldn't mind talking a little bit about kind of traveling with photography.
Yeah.
And how to do it respectfully.
Yeah.
Because so the last few years I've linked up with Hope International, and I've done some volunteer work with them, and I went to Nepal and Ethiopia with them to photograph all the incredible work that they are doing on the ground. And yeah, I've thought a lot about it, that I wouldn't want to be in those places taking those photos without that context. Because otherwise you're just going in this rural place like in Ethiopia where they've actually, a lot of people or communities hadn't even seen a white person. And if you just go with this camera that's first off expensive, so already there's a power dynamic, and if you go and you just start photographing without having a reason to be there, then that's, you know, that experience can be degrading. It can be alienating for people. And so I've really, really loved going with that context. And I'm very conscious to not photograph when it doesn't feel like the experience will be reciprocally beneficial. And so, for example, Guatemala, where I went to do my yoga teacher training, I took beautiful photos of yoga and Westerners who had come. And because there was a lot of tension between the locals and the expats, I took no street photography there. Because it really felt like I wasn't welcome to. And that experience, I didn't want to be, although I wanted beautiful photos, I didn't want to be perpetuating this dynamic of like, I'm a Westerner with this expensive camera and I'm just going to come in and take the photos that I need to improve my career or whatever.
Yeah.
So
benefiting off of
exactly.
Yeah, and
right?
not feeling the energy that's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I really try and tap into it, and sometimes you don't get the photo.
Which is, I feel, I mean, it is what it is, and so you let go of it, but there are moments where you know that the photo is special. And I'm sure that you have this. Actually, I'm actually curious to talk to you. I don't talk to a lot of photographers, so I'm curious to talk. But sometimes I just see stuff walking down the street and I'm like, man, that would be such a cool photo or like a unique moment. And it's so fleeting because it's just the way that the person was bending over to like tie their shoe or whatever it is, you know, like that looks so cool, but you don't have the camera or you can't just take someone's photo like that or something, you know. And when you're traveling, I feel like it's exponentially more special because these are probably, you know, they're very unique photos to our eyes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I actually have this struggle all the time, to the point where my friends now just say, just take the camera, because they know that if I go out without,
I know, me too.
I'll be like, damn. I did a bike ride the other day. I went on a bike ride to the West End, and I absolutely love, I don't know if you know this about me, but I love photographing elderly people.
I didn't know it, but I know it from you. Yeah, you wouldn't have had to tell me, but I'm glad you told me, kind of thing. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful. I think it was the first sunny day in Vancouver, and all the old people were out, and they were just photographing flowers and sitting, enjoying the sun, and I didn't have my camera, and I was devastated. You know, it was fine. I just tried to take it in and absorb it and enjoy the beauty of it.
Yes.
But yes, I see those moments all the time.
Yeah.
And but you know what? That's probably, if I could pick one thing about photography that I love, is that even when you're not shooting, you're still looking through the photographic eye.
Yeah. And
so it gives you such a beautiful view on the world. Maybe someone wouldn't notice this beauty of someone just tying down, like tying their shoes or something. So,
right. So, I totally agree, you know, and I feel like I've seen it more as I, of course, started photographing more. You're just noticing in a completely different way how something could be captured, or that you wish you know, sometimes I don't bring the camera with me. It's the same thing. I just go out for the day and I don't bring the camera, and then I look and I see something, I'm like, I wish I had the camera so bad, you know, and I mean, it is what it is, but it feels unfortunate sometimes because you're just like missing this little thing, and you're like, no, like, you know. Every time.
Actually, I no longer go on overnight hikes without a camera.
Well, that I think is very good, because it's so special.
It's so special, and it's so heavy to carry up a mountain. You know what?
Is your camera heavy?
My lenses are heavy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I've just started playing. I've had this lens a long time, but I never used it. It's a 40 millimeter.
Oh.
A teeny tiny little guy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so light, so then now I can just bring my camera
way
more places. I also just bought this little tiny foam camera also.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
cool. Okay.
So I'll start using that again.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so this is for me when I witness your photos. What I wanted to know too, because there seems to be a strong spirituality aspect to you and to your photos, and so like I know for me my story of how the photos kind of came into play was like this yoga related stuff too, you know, but were you already interested in practice even when you were in university or high school, and they've just kind of gone hand in hand in your photos, or did you like find spirituality a little bit later, and then, you know, how did those come together?
Yeah, so it came together because when I wasn't dancing anymore, you know, like 16 plus hours a week, it's a lot, and I needed some sort of way to move that wasn't as, you know, competitive or time intensive, and so I found salsa dancing and That's I found fun. Yoga.
Yeah.
So I always had done a tiny bit of yoga, but not very much. So I started doing yoga, and I took this yoga teacher training, my first one.
Where did you take the first one?
In Guatemala.
Oh, that was the first. Wow, good for you.
That was the first one. Okay. Yeah, it was quite a jump. Yeah, so that was my first one, and I of course took my camera, and I did a little tiny bit of a trade where I got some percentage off my course and took a few photos for them, and of course I loved it because I fell in love with, that's where I really fell in love with yoga, and then since then I've done either more trades, or I've also just photographed and videoed lots of yoga teacher trainings and yoga / movement related things. And yeah, I guess they come together really well in that, you know, similar to dance, a dancer will know what moment to capture, and with yoga it's really similar. You know, a yogi will understand also when to step back and not capture something, because maybe that's a private moment, or you know, or they'll really understand like what part of the movement is important to
highlight
capture,
or something.
So I think they just really naturally came together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just makes sense.
Yeah, you see so much of it in your work, and I was also very curious to know about your use of color and tones and like your color grading, because it seems that, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm not 100% sure, but I think that you really, like, your color grading is really beautiful, the way that you know, do that in the photos. And so I'm curious to know, like, do you frequent certain ones? Because I kind of frequent certain colors depending, or do you switch it up depending on the session? You seem to use a lot of red, it seems like, in my mind, but maybe I'm wrong in your grading.
My grading? No, I mean... to a detriment also sometimes.
Yeah.
I think I shoot very much in a style.
Yeah.
And I also edit very much in a style.
Yeah, it
so
seems
I'm
like
kind
that.
of shooting to edit.
Yeah.
I know exactly how I will edit it based on how I shoot it. And so, yeah. So I think I don't go in... I honestly rarely... I would say I'm more documentary style photographer.
Yeah.
And so I would say I rarely go in, you know, with an idea of like, I'm going to shoot this in this way. You know, I just allow the experience to, maybe I'll have a shot list, like it will be organized in a different way, but when the moment comes, my hope is that the session is very flowy. Yeah. And that things just are happening naturally. And that's also the photography part. Right. So.
Yeah, and I find that the way that you capture color is one of my favorite parts of your photos, because I don't know why, but I don't know how you do it, but I feel like when I witness them, I'm like, whoa, these are like, how did she, like, you know, like, it just looks so beautiful and they're so nice. And I think, like I said it to you before, but I think it's still really important that, you know, I say that to you, that they're like they're excellent photos. And
so sweet.
yeah, you know, I think it's important for us to see, because I think that, like, for me, sometimes I don't always recognize if something is good or not. Like, I don't know, you know, all the time, but and like for you too, I would imagine it's similar, because we're looking at, like, we know what it took to get that photo, or like the behind the scenes moment, or what the settings were, or like how we edited, or whatever it is, you know. And then also you spend so much looking at it.
Oh yeah, totally. I just redid my website.
Yeah.
And which I would love your feedback on.
Oh,
after,
yeah.
And oh my god, I've spent so much time looking at my photos, and I'm so sick of them by now.
Yeah.
That I'm not even sure if I'm a good photographer anymore. But so yes, but yeah, man, about the color thing, I've had lots of people say that they love my color.
Actually.
Lots.
Huh.
Or
I guess I'm not surprised, but it's just...
it's funny because I guess I just edit the way that I see. But I do focus a lot on getting good lighting in the moment, that's for sure. And that obviously helps with color when you're not dealing with too much contrast and things like that. And then a lot of my work is also taken in colorful places. So that's important.
That helps, yeah.
You know, if you were taking the same photo in Vancouver, maybe it would look
it would look gray, and you would not have a friendly experience with the public.
Exactly, like we just did. And then I feel like there was one more thing with the color. I can't remember now.
Like what people say about it? Like that they like the way that it looks?
Like what I do.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I can't remember now.
It'll come back to you.
It'll come back to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not too... Oh, that's what it was. It's, I love Canon.
Yeah, you know...
Canon is I've tried Sony.
Yeah.
And I bought a Sony, bought lenses, and then sold it, went back to Canon.
Yeah.
Only because of the colors.
Right.
My Sony camera was amazing.
Yeah.
I sold it to an amazing local photographer.
Cool.
And...
I never used Sony before, but people really like it, I know.
Yeah, it's a great camera. It's so sharp. It's great for video, but I just didn't like the colors for photo.
The colors. And it's so funny that you say that, because actually, and I don't know exactly how she had said this, but when I did like one of those photo sessions, a she shoot with Lexa Bergen in the summer, and we were talking, because I'm pretty sure she uses a Nikon. I'm pretty sure, right? Do you know what she uses? I'm pretty sure she uses a Nikon. Because we're like Nikon buddies, I remember that, you know, like, and I feel like there's not a lot of Nikon people out there. There's like a few, but like people seem to not like it, and I'm like, what the hell, you know. But she was telling me that Canon captures more on like the red scale, I guess. Maybe that's why.
I think that's why.
Huh. And Nikon seems to be more on like the blue whatever scale. Maybe
I thought Nikon was green.
Yeah, blue-green, I think she said, you know, and I don't even know like exactly, but she said something like that. And
it's definitely that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my photos come out warm already. Even my
they
video
comes
out warm.
It comes out warmer.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to switch.
Yeah, you can try my camera anytime.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, thanks, you know. Yeah, I'd be curious to see, like, but it seems like you were always pulling reds, it seems, or like that side of the color, you know, wheel or spectrum, you know, and like, even when we went together, like, you pulled a lot of red from that session, like, from that moment, or orange, kind of.
Really? Oh, okay.
There was quite a lot of orangey. There was, you used, like, a leaf, like an orangey leaf.
Yeah.
And
to bring some warmth in.
Yeah, bring some warmth in, you know, and I thought that was interesting, because from my point of view, I probably wouldn't have pulled any of those, not just because my camera doesn't really capture red or whatever, right, but just because
it was a very blue,
it was very blue, setting. It was like twilighty lighting, and the trees in the background and stuff, so I would have probably like pulled those ones in my mind, but you switched it up completely, which I think is just such a genius aspect of your photography.
And when it's too blue and I can't pull the warmth, I just turn it black and white. I love black and white.
Me too.
So, yeah. I actually made a personal work section on my website. I've taken it down for now. I'm going to put it back up.
Yeah.
And it was all black and white. And then someone was just saying, like, maybe you should have some color on there, but I love black and white.
I don't know, just do it.
Yeah,
just do
sure.
it, you know? Like, I completely agree with you. I love black and white, and sometimes I work with people who don't want it at all, which is fine. Like, you can, you know, people can do whatever they want. I don't care, you know, whatever. But, like, I have some people I'll go and do sessions with, and they don't want, they're like, don't send me any black and white, and I'm like, so I really want to, like,
I
it's
used
so
to
beautiful.
send people, if the photo wasn't really what I loved and it was looking better in black and white, I used to just send it black and white.
Yeah, me too.
And then I would spend so many hours sending them the color version, because inevitably they would always say, can you send us
the
this
color
in color?
version, yeah.
Especially couples photos.
Yeah. Yeah, what have you learned on your journey of working with people for so many years now? Are there certain things that you've been, I don't know, like putting like a rock in a hard place, or like have you had to like really establish certain, I don't know.
I think the biggest thing I've learned, and I've learned this through doing the marketing, being both the marketer for Sabah Cafe and Bistro and the photography, from the ground up, is that sometimes as photographers we have to detach. If we're not creating the work for ourselves and for a personal project or just for fun, and we're getting paid for it, then the client's needs need to go above our artistic needs. You know, like, it's amazing to create you'd hope, and this is something to move forward to have more of, but you'd hope that people are hiring you for your exact style.
There's that, yeah.
But at the end of the day,
that's always the case.
It's not always the case, and you have to understand that in the discovery call.
You learn a lot in that call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you'd hope that, but also, even if they hire you for your style, they have needs. And so the photo might look beautiful, but especially if you're photographing food, does the food look beautiful?
Right.
That's so important. The portrait might be beautiful and lit perfectly, or maybe it's very moody or whatever, but the person doesn't look flattering. And so I think that's a big lesson that I've learned, is the photos, like, don't just live. Once you send them the gallery, it goes beyond that, right? Unless you're photographing, you know, families and couples. But if you're photographing for brands and restaurants or tourism, there's a very distinct purpose, and you're either fulfilling that purpose or you're not.
Yeah.
And whether the photo is taken amazingly doesn't actually necessarily, you know, land one way or the other in terms of fulfilling the purpose.
Yeah, and I feel like the photos stretch much further than we think sometimes. Like, I forget that people might want to print these or put them on their wall forever, you know, just certain things like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that
or they get
exists.
made into a little poster or whatever.
Many things.
I
actually feel so happy. It's such a good way to keep up with who you've worked with, because, you know, they'll share their offering and then tag you because it's your photo, let's say, and then you're like, I know what you're doing. Like, it's just a good way to keep up with community sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Which you've done also with my photos.
100%. Yeah, 100%. You know, like, those were so beautiful, and it's actually really funny that you say that, because, like, client needs, like, if I had hired you for that session, and it was for my work and whatever, and, like, we didn't, like, just play around together in that time, I probably would have said to you that I would have wanted more green aspects, because my branding is very green focused, you know, and so it's like, this is like your eye and your expression is going to bring in that, like, orangey tone or something, which is beautiful, but my own, like, needs are going to probably push you out of what you actually want to do, probably, right? Like, you're still going to get something really beautiful.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be not exactly what you envisioned in the moment, I would imagine.
So.
Yeah. It's fun.
It is fun. I know. And we're having the same thing, because the photo that you want to take of me for this, I'm trying to curate it to make it so that it can fit in my branding. And without, like, fully derailing you or micromanaging.
No, I think that it's like you know, you and I we've only gone together once, and I think that what it would probably need is further collaboration time so that it becomes like a symbiosis basically between us. There's like an equal understanding of I know what you need and I want you to have what you need, obviously, you know, but then how do I go about this, you know? But I also feel very open to what people have to say, especially when they're photographers too. Like, I've learned so much for just having conversations with the few photographers I know. They just see things so differently. It's so amazing. Like, I probably wouldn't have really thought, and I'm glad I just had my polarizer. Like, I wasn't going to bring that little, like, filter thing I had. I had a few of them in there. And I wasn't going to bring it because I was like, well, what do I need my filters for? It's just not necessary. And then I was like, I really hope I have that because there's no way I could have captured that without it, you know?
And it was it was nice.
Yeah, so, I mean, I probably wouldn't have thought about that. So, I mean, you and I were collaborating.
Yes. Maybe we should do some photo video collabs.
Yeah. Well, your videos are really amazing too. That's the thing. I don't feel like you can produce anything that isn't incredible, Danielle. Like, I feel like
that is not true.
No, it's true. I know that you probably don't show the stuff that's not the greatest, obviously, I would imagine, but what you do produce is really, really, really good.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do love video. I just have so much to learn still. Or I feel that I have so much to learn. But
that's a whole different world,
it's
actually.
It's a whole different world.
You know?
I thought it'd be a little bit more
like overlapping?
Overlap.
Yep.
But it's really not.
Yeah.
When you get into it, if it's kind of run and gun, I realize that's kind of what I like.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did a little promo video, like maybe how long was it? I can't remember exactly how long it was. 2 minutes. Of this gastronomical tour of Catalonia in Spain in September.
Yeah, okay.
And it was amazing. I went for a week and did the tour essentially, or like documented it, and it was just me and my camera, no lighting because a lot of the places you couldn't bring lighting in. And yeah, I just had the most amazing time and they loved the video and it turned out really great. But of course, in my mind, when I think about getting more video work, I always get caught in like, you have so much more to learn. So that's the perfectionist.
Yes. Do you feel like not confident yet, or do you feel a little bit confident, but not as much as you do with photos? Like, is there an aspect of you that just feels like, I don't know, or
I realize that I am confident in certain parts. Like if I'm documenting something, then I feel quite confident. I've documented a few yoga teacher trainings, and that I could do. I have zero doubt, and I know I can do a great job. But when it comes to maybe curating something that's a little bit more of a story that you're crafting versus capturing events and then making it into a story through the edit, but when you're actually creating the story from the beginning, that's something that it's not that I'm not confident in, I just need to do it more.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit of a leap because it's so much time, but I do have some stuff coming up in the works that is really exciting and will involve more of that. So
right. Yeah, I get happy every time I see whatever you're sharing.
Oh,
I'm like, what is it? Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice. I'll take it. Thank you. Yeah, there is a lot to learn. Some people expect, I've had it so many times where people just think or ask you like, oh, can you do video? Or like, will you make us a video? Or like, yeah, can we do a session with, and I say no, because I like, you know, I can make a video technically, but they're not.
Yeah,
I'm no videographer, like, by any means. There's a lot to learn. It's so much, you know, and like
the editing's a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like my one camera, the one I primarily capture photos with, it's a Nikon and it's from 2018. It's not overly old, but I don't think that it shoots in HD, which lots of people want, you know, a good quality video. So I don't have that. And then I primarily shoot any video I have on an older Canon. But I also think it's like at least a decade old. But it does a better job than Nikon for video because I feel like Canons are just better than Nikons for video, especially. And so, like I can do it.
You need the right gear, and not to mention I've stopped saying yes to doing photo and video.
Well, like in the same session, like I totally agree with you.
You can't. They're two different things.
Yep.
You need way more time for video.
Yes, you do.
Way more time.
They're very different setups.
Yeah, so the camera I have is awesome. It shoots video and
that's cool.
Photo, and you can switch back and forth seamlessly.
Right. That's cool.
With just a button and it. Right. And it has an ND filter inside.
No way.
Yeah. So I bought the attachment for it.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. So you always have an ND filter.
That's amazing.
Which you need for video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot, and but yeah, it's a whole different thing. So.
Yeah, very different world. I feel happy that I know a little bit, but not.
Yeah.
It's not that much. Like overall, I would never want to be a video person, but.
But I think it's also, I've met so many photographers who've just made a confident choice to say I only do photography, and it's great because it does. I took quite a lot of time away from my photography to do this documentary film program, and I still take time away when I'm learning video and working on marketing. So it's just how fast you want to learn stuff.
Yeah.
Right now I'm learning many things.
Yeah.
Kind of in a trickle long-term approach way, or you can just focus on one and maybe you'll go way further. Yeah.
Well, you just see.
Just
see, because there might be one day where you don't even do either and you do something completely different, because that's just the way life is sometimes.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
So then at that point it's like, what brings you joy?
Yeah, it might completely shift one day. It happens, I think, so much, especially for people like us.
Totally.
You feel like some days it's just kind of like, oh, I want to do this other thing now.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I think it happens, actually. I was thinking about this recently, that it does happen to everyone. You just shift into a new career. Maybe you get a bit sick of it. And I think for creatives, it's way harder to allow yourself to make that happen, because you feel a sense of like privilege and freedom to make money doing what you love.
Yeah.
But also, there's still times where you get bored or uninspired, or you just want to try something new for a while.
Yep.
So that was kind of the beauty of this documentary film course, is I felt like I just needed a break. And I did this course and I really loved it. And right after the course, I did do some video work, but I got so re-inspired to do photography. Such a funny thing.
Yeah,
I went to do video,
and
it just reignited my fire for photography.
Amazing.
And now I'm kind of like, okay, trickling back to maybe I can do a bit of both again. But it was just like, sometimes you need a break.
Yeah, it's good to step away sometimes.
Step away, and maybe you can take a break and still do something creative.
Of course.
So maybe if you ever burn out from photography for a little bit, you can dive into your video if you want.
Yeah, maybe, anything can happen.
Right? Or your yoga. That's the beauty of having so many outlets.
Yeah, I guess you know what? Yeah. We're not going to focus on all the ways that it exhausts us.
Exactly. It's like glass half full.
It's good.
No, it is exhausting sometimes.
A little bit, sometimes. But I wouldn't have it any other way, I don't think, But I also don't know any other way.
That's true. A lot of people say that to me. Like, I do this marketing job, and that's just what I've fallen into because of my family business. And I've had a lot of photographers just say, I don't even have that option. I don't have another side gig I would do. So it's just a funny thing. Yeah, when we think, okay, do we stay in a job because we don't know a different one, or do we love it? And I think, it's just a funny.
Yeah. It is, and I think it's all just feeling, and also just allowing and accepting and being pretty open and relaxed to whatever. There's a lot of grasping, I find, for people, and of course I grasp too, don't get me wrong, of course there's lots of grasping, but I also feel that I know, especially because for you and I, we've lived many different lives so far, we've been many different things, so I've always just found myself in a place where now I just do this now, so that would also happen later if something changed 5 years from now. I would just find myself doing this thing, and it would just, it always just falls into place.
That's such, Yeah.
Like, when is it never not? You've always had a thing. You've always either been dancing, and then you got the photos, and then video, and then you're like, I want to travel, and I want to...
Totally.
Yeah, I want to yoga, I want to this, I want to that. Like, I don't know. Just keep going.
That's funny. I don't know if I've ever told you that I have a... she's not really sure what she calls herself, but she's essentially she comes from a life coach background, and she incorporates meditation. She's kind of my, like, pseudo spiritual therapist.
Nice.
And we were just talking about that the other day, that one of the things I'm struggling with is this kind of struggle of being too attached to what it is that I want to be doing, and can I do this one thing long term, and will it fulfill me? And she just reminded me, like, you have changed so many times and you've never done yourself wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so why would your future self do you wrong if she hasn't done you wrong till now? That's
really nice, actually, that she mentioned that to you.
So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't know. Like, I think we know what the wrong paths are, for us specifically, or just in general. I think that, you know, they're relatively clear. And also your intuition, like you said too, you know, like, I don't think you can lead yourself wrong. You just feel it. You know, this feels no, there's resistance, or this feels yes, and then okay, I'll go do this now, you know.
If you're in touch with it.
Yeah. Well, you are though, which is good, you know, primarily.
That's a lot of years of
getting in touch with it. But, you know, maybe they can reach out to your coach and...
Yes, well, she's not taking new clients.
Damn it.
I know, right?
Okay, we'll have to outsource
she's amazing,
someone.
but...
Yeah. Okay, if she has room in the future one day.
Yes. That's true, but generally speaking, we know, you know...
Yeah, I think that probably on average most people can feel it. It's whether or not they actually are able to identify, wait a minute, like, there is a feeling here. You know, not everyone I can understand, you know, whatever, but I think that, like, on average, I know people that maybe they're not the most, like, tuned into self, but they can kind of feel like...
I think what happens is people can feel it, and they also maybe feel the fear so much of changing that situation, and then the fear wins out.
Yeah.
I think that's truly what happens. I think people know when the relationship is not right, or when the job is not right, or when the house is not right, whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, what if? And, you know, I don't know. And if I do this, it causes this change. And
so we get stuck in our little what ifs.
Yeah. What ifs.
So
terrified of life.
Yeah. No, you don't seem terrified of life.
No. But people. Well, sometimes you know what? I don't feel like I'm immune to some of this shit. You know, like I definitely, you know, like
me neither. That's why I would not be where I am without Eileen. There's her name.
Bless Eileen.
Yes, bless Eileen.
Yeah.
Bless yoga.
Yeah, the
bless
yoga.
Photo, bless gardening.
Yeah.
Bless all the things that keep us on the path.
Yeah.
Of sameness.
Yeah, gardening with kids.
Exactly.
You know?
Or just gardening in general.
In general.
Yeah.
So special.
Yeah, it is.
Do you have anything else you want to touch on? You were actually going to host a zucchini party last summer, I'm pretty sure.
I did.
Not gardening. Yeah, you did.
I did. It was great.
I just remembered because of gardening.
It was really fun, and actually with Sabah this summer, we are going to host a few really cool collaborations with different farms, and essentially it's going to be a huge version of the zucchini party that I hosted.
Amazing.
And so it's going to be a zucchini themed menu, or maybe like another one we thought about was blueberries and mushrooms and asparagus and all different seasonal things.
It was a great idea.
Right?
I never heard of a zucchini party before.
Exactly, and it was so much fun.
Yeah,
we had so many zucchinis. Everybody brought a different zucchini dish.
Zucchinis, I feel like, are so interesting because, like, whenever I've grown them, I genuinely, like, the next day, like, I looked at it the night before, and then the next day I look at it and it's huge and all of a sudden there, and it really wasn't there the day before.
It's crazy.
It's
beautiful.
It is
I love
crazy.
This stuff. The first little tiny seedling that came up, I cried. It was so sweet.
Yeah.
It's just magic. It just
brings
out the youthfulness in you, and that's probably why I want to teach it to kids too.
That makes sense.
It's just so magical, and I think people need to see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, more zucchini parties.
Okay, more zucchini parties to come.
That's the goal. That's the kind of stuff I love to do.
Yeah. So, of course. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I feel like you're getting up to all the good stuff in life.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, I guess one thing I can tell you about, you don't have to put it in if you don't want, but
yeah, well, I'll probably go in.
yeah, is I do have a project coming up that I am gonna be doing. It's really focused around how food allows people to stay connected to their homeland. And so it's going to be, you know, as an immigrant to Canada, I have always felt like our traditions around food, you know, every Christmas we make cappelletti from scratch, and that's something that we used to do in Italy, and it really helps us stay connected. And yeah, and I'm just curious about this, if other people feel the same, and I've talked to a lot of people now in the kind of research part of the project, and it's definitely a resounding yes.
Yeah. That
people like these foods, maybe in a stressful moment you make something from your homeland.
It's very grounding.
And it's very grounding.
Yeah,
and it
brings you back.
Brings you home.
Yeah,
and
even if you never lived there. Like there's something
exactly.
about it, it's in like your genes, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even if you haven't lived there, and so my next project, I'm starting it as a photo project, and eventually it's going to be a little
that's
documentary
so
series.
exciting. That's so exciting.
So going to make recipes with people of their homeland.
Amazing.
And then in the future, it's going to be little documentaries of people telling their story of how they stay connected. So
yeah, that's so special, you know.
Fun.
Yeah, and I always find like there's something about it for me too, especially when I have any sort of like Middle Eastern food. There is a depth for me, even though I've never been there, never lived there, but there is like a depth. I gotta go, you know. But
that's crazy. You want to travel? Go.
Yeah, good photos, photos. You know, lots of colors. But I remember when I was trying to learn Arabic that I was talking to some person about it. I said, I'm trying to learn Arabic, and they said, you know what you need to tell yourself is that you're going to remember how to speak it. Not that you're going to learn it right now, but it's already in your DNA. Your family has spoken it for, you know, so many hundreds of years or something. You are going to remember how to speak it, even though you obviously don't. And it's something that actually I just remembered that now when you're saying like about people getting, you know, further grounded when they eat food from, you know, it's like, again, it's like so embedded in you. In your DNA.
I love that. I might need you for this project.
Yeah, I'm around. Yeah, we can make some Middle Eastern food, you know?
Because honestly, the project started a little bit also with my love of, I wanted to create a personal project, and as you know, I love photographing elderly people.
Yes, you do.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to go and photograph the immigrants that have been here for like 30 plus years, and like really, and then I started talking to, you know, people our age, and you know, the whole spectrum of people, and it was like, damn, this project needs to be more than just elderly people. And actually maybe it's less about the elderly people and more about the people who are so embedded in this culture that they need that link to remember.
Yes,
right? Someone who's come from Italy when they were, I don't know, later in life, and then they're here so long, especially the Italian
they already
culture.
Know what it does for them.
Exactly. Yeah. They're probably so freaking Italian that they have barely learned English.
Yeah.
I will bet
that's
you
true, actually.
Right?
That's
Instead,
true.
It's the second generation, or it's the first
like
generation,
me. Same thing.
Who gets so, who are so adaptable.
Yeah.
That it's so, there's so much risk of losing this culture. Or the culture of your parents. So
you know, that could be actually a very good project for you, because then it just is something that's different, or you're like connecting with different, you know, you're not like it's being like, I want to be with elderly people. You're just like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to work with the youth.
Well, yeah, and then I get to build these, you know, like just what you spoke about. It was already something new that I hadn't thought about, that it's a remembering. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you will be in my documentary.
Thank you so much. Yes. That's amazing.
When it happens, I'll let you know.
Okay, I'm here. Yeah. I'm around. You message me. I'll come running.
Do you have a favorite food that you make? to
I don't seem to really make a lot, but I've like been served a lot of stuff by my family, but I don't really make a ton of stuff. I make a few things. But
so your family, give me your background a little bit again.
Yeah, we're Armenian, half Armenian, but my dad was born in Lebanon from the Armenian genocide, so they were like displaced to Lebanon basically, so there's like a lot of Lebanese influence, and then like obviously a lot of Armenian influence and like culture and food and obviously language. So I've grown up like listening to Armenian, listening to Arabic is like spoken, and had to figure out which one was which sometimes, because they just kind of switch from them to different languages and stuff. But I don't really have I have a little bit of family still here, but like my grandmother has passed, and she would be one of the ones that would, it's how it is. It's like,
does your dad still cook?
He doesn't cook at all. He doesn't cook at all, unfortunately, but I could probably outsource some cousins or something for us.
That could be cool.
Yeah, why not? That. I seem to kind of make more like pastry related stuff.
Okay, yeah. I remember the cookies you gave.
Yeah, I gave you cookies?
You gave
Girl,
me a cookie,
because I did a pastry apprenticeship in New Zealand when I was living there, and so like I primarily seem to like to bake. I really like cooking though. I'm very passionate about it, but I seem to like be more interested in baking like Middle Eastern related stuff.
Well, baking is fine.
Beautiful. Yeah. So maybe we can make something.
That would be cool. Perfect. Or we can get one of your cousins to bake you something, or to make you something.
And bring it. Yeah.
But let's get you baking.
Okay.
Something. So do you have a favorite Middle Eastern?
I do like an orange almond cake. Those are quite nice. I make a cardamom syrup for it, and like sometimes if I'm feeling fancy, I'll make the cardamom syrup with also the rose water. So it's like this. It's very nice. Let's say no more.
Let's put a date in the book later, and I will come over and we will photograph.
Oh my god, I'm so excited!
I can already see the photo.
Yeah, and the cake is so beautiful because it's like orange, and like I caramelize the oranges at the bottom.
And I'm just gonna get a shot of the drizzle of the syrup.
Of the syrup, the cardamom syrup.
Yeah,
girl.
That's the one. I can't wait. I also love that kind of cake.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. It's so good.
Okay, so yeah.
Done. I didn't think we'd be leaving here with a project.
I love it. Well, that's usually what happens.
I know.
I have conversations with people.
Like, let's do it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm so excited. That's why I wanted to open this project up to more people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's something even more special about people remembering where they're from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's very special. And then
reconnecting.
Of course. Yeah, you feel it. It's just. I feel like so happy when I eat Middle Eastern food for some reason. It's in the blood, Yeah. Do you have anything else that you feel like we did not say and that you wanted to make sure was in here?
No, I hope that was a little bit coherent.
Yeah. Between the two of us.
Okay, exactly. I think we made it happen. No, I had a lot of fun. This was my first podcast.
Yeah, well, welcome. There you go. I'm glad we can break the ice for you, and now maybe you'll probably want to do more of it.
Oh, well, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. You made it feel very comfortable.
Oh, bless. Yes. Thank you so much. All right.
Yeah, amazing.
Perfect. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.